Hello, and welcome to another edition of Exclusive Interview, coming to you from the studios of 84 TV Radio, Abuja, Nigeria. My name is Stanley Bentu. Coronavirus, otherwise called COVID-19, has brought with it a global emergency, the likes of which the world has never seen before. But there are experts who believe that long after this medical emergency is over, the economic impact of it would linger on. COVID-19 has created a new world economy. But where is Nigeria's place in this new world? That's what I intend to find out. But first of all, let's have a look at this report.
The worldwide economic landscape has changed dramatically over the past 4 months, as the COVID-19 pandemic has stalled activity in nearly every corner of the world. With tens of millions of unemployment claims in the United States, as well as more than 100 million jobs lost in India, global economies are suffering. Economists believe some sectors, such as manufacturing, can likely come back quickly. Others, however, will take much longer to fully recover, if they ever do at all. Those differences need to be taken into account when considering government interventions. But which sectors are likely to expand or contract? What effective recovery strategy should Nigeria consider? Which types of jobs will be available in the coming years? And how do we ensure that Nigerian employees have the skills to fill them? Exclusive Interview speaks to development economist and former presidential candidate of the ANRP in the 2019 general elections, Tope Fasua. He spells out in detail what he believes should be Nigeria's focus in this transformed global economy.
I'm now joined by economist and former presidential candidate of the ANRP. His name is Tope Fasua.
Good morning, Stanley. Good to be here.
It's a pleasure to see you again after quite a while.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much.
And always a pleasure to speak with you.
Yeah,
well, COVID-19 has changed the way that we lived, but we're not here to talk about the medical aspect of it. We're here to talk about money. And I think that it's shaping the world's economies in different ways.
Yeah.
So what have you observed about this new economic world order?
Well, I think the first thing is that COVID, whereas is a health phenomenon, the COVID-19 itself, most of the impact is going to be felt on the economic front. Unfortunately, there's a further divergence between the rich countries and the ones that are struggling, between even rich people, the hyper-rich and all of that. You can see people like Bezos, Zuckerberg, Gates and co. The other time they published, these guys have made $100 billion each since all of this started, because a lot of them
become the first human being to be worth $200 billion.
I mean, it's amazing, So, and of course, was it Apple became the first $2 trillion company in the world, which is like 5 times Nigerian economy. That's Apple alone as a company. However, if you look at all of these companies, you see that they are tech-based, they're driven by technology, and of course, all of these companies seem to have a reach into everybody's pocket around the world, even sometimes the poor people. For example, Facebook, if it was a country, is about 2.5 billion subscribers on Facebook and increasing on a daily basis, meaning that it's the combination of China and India in terms of population of people, if it was a country. Bezos, Amazon, which started as an online bookshop, now sells everything. And I think where the world is going to with the economics of COVID, is a scenario where there's going to be, seamless logistics eventually, powered by artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, machine learning, and all this new technology, nanotechnology and all that, whereby eventually we may find that we are here in Abuja and then we're shopping on a daily basis from Walmart. And Walmart develops the capability to get, if you could afford it, to get your groceries to you maximum on a 24-hour basis. You know what I'm saying? In which case, we would even short-circuit the local ones here, not to talk of the man on the street selling stuff in the corner, And they're able to do that even cheaper. So if you're comparing prices, you will find out that for you to buy off if you like, the malam selling on the street, you're probably better off buying from Walmart somewhere in the United States, and they deliver to your doorstep. That's the kind of thing we're looking at.
So we've seen an increase in tech for obvious reasons. With the lockdown has forced people to stay at home, but life must go on. But there are associated and affiliated economies that can ride on that to grow. For instance, the transport service sector. That should be looking up, shouldn't it?
Yeah, the transport sector, well, no. You mean maybe the logistics, delivery, courier sector. Transportation went down because, of course, at some point in time, people weren't moving all over the world. And in fact, the reason why there was that precipitous drop in the price of crude oil, because 70% of crude oil is used for refined petrol and diesel and for transportation in general, including jet fuel and all that. 70% of crude. The reason why there's an uptick now to about $45 and so on, and the price of crude oil averagely around the world is because people are beginning to move and sometimes defying the COVID and so on. But there are other sectors. So tech is actually doing well. Logistics, okay, in terms of people are thinking of on-time delivery, doorstep delivery. People are still, a lot of people are still encouraged to stay at home and all that. Let's think more deeply. What's going to happen? Well, in the fourth industrial revolution actually has been predicted. The first one was driven by steam, the next by electricity, the third by the internet, the fourth by this, technology, nanotechnology, AI, machine learning, ML, and IoT, Internet of Things, So it changes the world. It's a big worry for me, though, because I read an article recently in the Premium Times, which I actually titled, not only Premium Times, I think also Daily Trust, titled the new normal. Anything in it for us? Because when I look at it all, I couldn't find Africa in most of it. I couldn't see how Africa, especially Nigeria, was going to be gaining.
The entire continent, or
Sub-Saharan Africa to a large extent. Taking out South Africa, I didn't see how we were going to be gaining from it, and I felt okay, fine. Rather than maybe if we assume that this was the new normal and this was the way things will carry on, what will we be doing to ourselves as a people, as a country? How many people will we be leaving behind? For example, if the new normal of education, for example, was online learning, and this is a country where we have about 40 million children about 15 million are out of school, even though recently I heard President Obasanjo said it was 40 million, and who was that backed it up? One other agency backed it up and said it was 40 million children out of school. Now, even if it was 15 million children out of school, that means that these children don't have access to laptops, to desktops, to palmtops, to the internet and all. So what do you do with them, given the fact that our major resource as a people is people? All right, so we have the numbers. So because we have the numbers, they are raw numbers. They are numbers that need to be built up, to be trained, to be taken to a certain level before we can begin to approach where the rest of the world is. So I think that we need to be a bit cautious in throwing away the traditional entirely and trying to key into the new normal, believing that look, this is where the world is. Because this actually exposes us and exposes everybody, exposes the inefficiency of everybody. Like we were discussing before this started, this is the time that a lot of our big men realize that even with all the money in the world, they can't even travel abroad to treat themselves. Because at some point it was total lockdown. They didn't need your face anywhere else in the world but your country. All right, so right now things are going to ease up. Some of them are taking private jets and going out and so on. But a number of people even died who were prominent people who just couldn't. On a good day, you'd have heard that they were in Germany or they were somewhere abroad, having very good, what they believe was very good. So it's also an indication that, hey, you have to look inwards. But in looking inwards, I'm also saying, don't run away with the new normal thing. Like, you need to understand your assets and liabilities, your SWOT. your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and strength as a country, as a people, you know, and from that.
You know, you talked about running away with the new normal. What is Nigeria's place in this new economy?
Right, I can't find Nigeria
behind
absolutely.
Economy.
In fact, the point is that we're actually disappearing into the horizon in this new economy, because again, okay, what do we bring to the table? Now, if you want to talk about the place of a country in an economy, you think about what you're bringing to the table. What are you selling? So you're selling crude oil. You're selling crude oil and other commodities, right? You're selling, let's say, crude. I mean, our best exports are crude oil. You know, talk about the agricultural products. In some parts of West Africa, some of our manufacturers managed to push a few things to Ghana and all of that.
The commodities.
Well, you know, I mean, if you go to Aba, some of them, they push shoes to some of the West African states and so on. You could call that manufactured goods and so on. Maybe there are some people I've seen where they manufacture like spanners and so on. You know, I mean, it's interesting, you know. Well, those guys, they are very, very, very industrial. So, but it's really very minimal. We can't even manufacture enough for our own needs, not talk about exports. Therefore, where is our new place, you know? Crude oil. Do you know, in the streets of London right now, what it did was they expanded the congestion zone. It used to be that if you were going towards maybe Liverpool Street, or you were going towards West London, maybe Mayfair and all of those places, congestion zone, you would pay like £8 for a day for each trip that you enter. But now they've expanded congestion zone very wide now, almost the whole place down to London Bridge, everywhere, you know, now congestion. However, and then they've increased the price of the congestion fee. And then, but what they did was they allowed for free, you know, any vehicle that's electric. You can go there anytime that you want. So a lot of people are dumping petrol and moving into electric, which tells you what's coming. At some point in time, you know, one of the lessons we were taught with this COVID was how quickly things could change. Things that happened in this season that was unbelievable. Like, you know, the whole world sitting down in one place, everybody having to find their way, you know, by sitting at home, you have to survive anyway, you know. And of course, also on the good side, we found out that, you know, we probably could survive with a whole lot less. You know, because, I mean, there weren't parties, there weren't nightclubs, people were spending those monies on, even the entertainment industry was dead. All of a sudden, a lot of our Nigerian youths are into entertainment, you know, whether you're a comedian or a musician or something or the other. All of a sudden, their cash flows dried up. So you could see a whole section, a whole sector of the economy actually collapsing. And in fact, not just that sector, a whole other sector, a lot of other sectors also collapsing. So Nigeria cannot hope to depend on commodities. If you look at all these commodities, exactly. Yeah.
Well, just a moment, and I would like us to return to this conversation to get exactly what we need to do to turn our fortunes around. But we'll take a break. Do not go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Exclusive Interview. We've been having a chat with Tope Fasua, who's an economist, also a former presidential candidate of the ANRP in the 2019 elections. And you mentioned or painted what could almost be considered a doomsday scenario for Nigeria. But there is always hope. If at all we respond to this as a wake-up call, there must be things that we can do. What should we do?
Well,
I'm not sure we will, but what should we do?
Well, that's interesting. But, you know, the point is, of course, we have to take a long-term view of things. We have to continue to believe in ourselves and have hope. You know, unfortunately for us, what we see now is a scenario where, you know, there's a lot of centrifugal and centripetal forces pulling the country in different places. We've never been more ethnicized than we are right now. Religions are pushing in different, you know, unfortunately. Let me tell you what I think, you know, and which is something I'm working on. Unfortunately for us, I can't see the hope in my generation and those above anymore. I'm thinking that, you know, the Generation Z, which are those children born between 1995 to date, are the ones that, if we can encourage, if we are wise, we really encourage them to begin to take charge. Because Nigeria now has digital problems, and we're thinking analog, right? So if you're thinking, oh, the solution to Nigeria's problem is to go back to the regional time when we were 1956 or 1960. That's the halcyon days in our own view. that's analog. That's analog thinking.
With nostalgia, you hear people talk about
the truth is that, Stanley, that look, there's no nostalgia to see in that era. The truth is that in that era, the truth was there were too many people. There were a lot of people in the villages, right? But when they start to see, those people went abroad and studied and studied abroad, and whole villages came to airports to welcome them with Atilogu dancers and so on. Everybody wanted to aspire. So in no time, people started to leave the villages for Lagos, for Kano, for Kaduna, for Enugu, for Port Harcourt. And that was the drift, So, and the truth also was that we didn't have enough to cope with all of those things, like, when you graduated from university, there are 2 cars waiting for you, 2 jobs, a flat, and all of that. It couldn't spread out. But we weren't thinking about the sustainability. We still don't think about sustainability or whatever it is we do now. That's why you go into the, I'm sorry to say, the public service of Nigeria. Unfortunately, today, some of the highest paid people work in the public service. How does that work? You're spending the money that should be spread for everybody on yourselves. So I believe that we have digital problems. We're still thinking analog. I don't see the 60-year-old has been able to think digital anymore. We have digital problems because, again, is the reason why we're talking about this. COVID has hit us. The new world economy has come. How do we fit in? You may realize that the thinking that we need for these times are those very futuristic thinking that will be able to sustainably manage our economy, and ramp up the economy beyond traditional commodities into the future. Value addition, all right, which will leverage on available knowledge on the internet and beyond. Continuous learning beyond classroom by those who can, but they also have to be able to disseminate to those children who cannot even get on any platform at all. So we need very fast thinking. We need people who can actually think, at that speed of light to be able to manage our situation right now. Because again, we're faced with what? A race for time, and there's no time at all. We're actually, like you said, doomsday scenario is what I see here. Because hey, how many cocoa seeds can you sell in order to buy? If you look at Nigeria's top import, all right, sustainably on a yearly basis, number 1 is technology. You need a laptop. We must work with laptops. You need to get the software. You need to pay Microsoft for the software that you're using. The banks need to bring in the software. You don't have to keep running the online real-time system. Now they're talking about robots, all right, that are talking to people and all of that. All that needs to be serviced. All of a sudden, we have no choice, but it depends solely. Look at telecommunications and so on. Has moved on. Our biggest import every year is. However, the moment you look beyond that, you begin to see that, this is also a country that imports petrol because it can't refine its own petroleum. This is also a country that imports, mundane stuff, This is a country that, before you begin to see cars, right? SUVs and so on. So it's a mismatch.
No matter what we do.
Yes.
No matter how fast or how far our economy, our GDP grows, much of our wealth is going to exit the country.
Absolutely. You see, I'm on a World Bank course right now, which talks about GVCs, which is global value chains, and there's a 5-week course, and that's one of the things that we need to also do. That everybody, we need to get on those MOOCs, right? Those massive open online courses. A lot of them are free. I'm paying $5 for this training. It's a 5-week training. $5 for my certificate. So everybody has to keep learning as much as we can. However, one of the things they talk about hyper specialization, and ordinarily they are encouraging more specialization. I'm actually viewing the whole thing with some level of suspicion, even if I can't stop it. It's not what I could stop, but they believe in hyper specialization. They believe the global value chain is a scenario where one product is produced by several countries. So you bring the car seats, right, from Malaysia, because you have to put in the car seats the cheese, the thing they hack off coconuts is where they stuff inside many of them. This one is producing, and then the real top countries are producing things like the chips on which the engine runs and on which the system runs, and those are the real, that's what it is. And then they realize themselves that, okay, since they've been promoting the GVC, the idea of global value chain, that indeed those countries who even come in at the base of it are getting the list, not to talk of countries that have remained stuck Countries that have remained stuck in commodity export and so on are getting nothing at all. But hey, because Stanley, I've always told people, right? Look, you can't produce a better banana than the United States will. A lot of the banana gets grown in places like Nicaragua, like, you know, all of those places, you know. But the companies are owned by Dole, you know, Bob Dole, all of those people, you know, top guys. The kind of research and development that have gone into getting the banana to be so sweet, so long lasting, they don't have to be GMOs, even the organic ones. Mm-hmm. You know, we have never aspired to that level of innovation, and of course, so all of a sudden
actually take out the ones that didn't grow to a certain standard.
Exactly, you know what I'm saying? Standardization. We try to sell everything. We can't afford. We will never be able. So the point then becomes that, look, we cannot compete even on food. Mm-hmm. All right, Nigeria is the top exporter of these foods, right? We're talking about cocoa, which becomes, you know, well, that's top 5, okay? Cote d'Ivoire does 10 times what we do in cocoa. And Cote d'Ivoire is like, you know, a quarter the size of Nigeria, and they don't use the entire space. So you'd even wonder what's going on. How come Cote d'Ivoire does 10 times the cocoa that we do? We are top 5 in okra, in cassava, in yam, in sorghum, in sesame. You know, those are the ones. You know, so you won't even see a lot of even palm oil. You know, but unfortunately, of course, Indonesia and Malaysia, they do 20 times each.
So what's our
20 times what we don't have any. That's the point. Now, the only thing I think we could do, how could we get some? I mean, we can't. I don't know, it's going to take a lot of effort. Like I said, it's going to take digital thinking in order for us. Well, we have to get serious. But let me say this quickly.
Going to run for president.
Let me say this quickly. Yes.
In 2019.
Okay, yes.
Do you intend to run again?
No, I'm not running again.
You're not running again.
I saw my chance and I took it. You know,
I would like a little bit more on that. But before that, you know, what would you have done had you been elected president?
I would have done a whole lot of things. I would have turned the whole thing upside down, actually, if I'd been given a chance. I probably would tell you 2 things. Number one is to say, how did the United States escape the Great Depression of the 30s that lasted the whole of the 30s? You know that by the time they brought in F.D. Roosevelt, who was there for about 16 years, the longest serving United States president, and then it brought what they call the New Deal. A lot of those things didn't work, building the Hoover Dam and, you know, employing a whole lot of people, the Keynesian economics and all of that. You know, we were marginal in terms of, you know, effectiveness until 1942. And in December 1941, Pearl Harbor was bombed. 7th of December 1941, Pearl Harbor was bombed. The United States joined the war effort on the next day. Before then, Churchill had been trying to drag them in to say, guys, let's do this together. But hey, you know, I mean, there's also this idea that Mobile was actually fueling some of the Luftwaffe, some of the Panzers, the German Panzers, that Mobile was funding them. Coca-Cola was trading in Germany and had to create Fanta in order to kill the Coca-Cola brand in the in Germany and so on. So, but what Roosevelt did was actually, the guys were in a war effort. You know what? Going forward, nobody will produce a new car in the United States, and nobody will buy a new car. And then they forced the Fords of this world, the General Motors and Co., to recalibrate their machines and their factories in order to produce fighter jets and so on, and also airplanes. They produced more than 100,000 airplanes in 1 year. Imagine the effort. You know, everybody contributed to that, and nobody bought a car in that interim. Nobody could even, you know, to produce one. You know, so between 1942 April 1942 to December 1944, this was the scenario. I wish Nigerians would understand that we are in a war scenario. Before this COVID came, Nigeria was in a war scenario, an economic war. Look, I'm looking at all of these figures flying around now. The United Kingdom economy fell by 20%, and, you know, listen, I've seen economists that have defined a depression by 10% fall in an economy. You could say that a lot of these economies are in depression, but you will not want to admit. But when I look at what a depression means in terms of unemployment, you know, spike in unemployment and, you know, despondency in society, high crimes and so on, I said Nigeria has been in a depression economy for as far as I can remember. So we ought to have gone into a kind of war mode. I would have said we go into a war mode where we can lock down a few things and lock down our cash flow and get serious for once and get everybody to contribute to this war effort. Secondly, what I would have done, which is one of the things I actually pushed, was to say, listen, when I look at all of this, our strengths and weaknesses, I realize that the only thing we have is our numbers. And we have a youth bulge. Between 35 years and below, they said, according to the NBS, 70% of the country. So what are you doing with that number? What are you doing with them? How are you encouraging them? What are they contributing? So I said, listen, we have a huge development gap between where we are and where the rest of the world is, even between where we are and where South Africa is. So I would rather not wait for university students and polytechnic students to graduate, because they are at that age that they're full of energy, full of passion, innocence, and all of that. They could do a whole lot if you encourage them. So I would rather go to universities and say, guys, if you're in civil engineering, I want you to begin to build roads now. I want you to begin to build, even if it's small roads, or to patch them. I'll scrap FEMA. All these guys are sitting down there doing nothing. I'll get my university students to do that and put something on their CV rather than wait for Chinese to come and build everything in Nigeria. All right, I'll get guys in electrical engineering and electrical electronics to go to those villages and power up those villages by solar, by mini hydro, by wind, by whatever it is. So in that way, so you see, it's going to be a sort of cultural revolution akin to what Mao Zedong did, but in a different, if you like, capitalist way. But if you like, and then you're going to have to incentivize those youths. All right, so in that way, you're planning long term for the youth of this country to be able to take over the reins of the economy and of production. All right, and to use that which you're learning in school. And in fact, and let me let you know, this is not a matter for engineering and science alone. For example, this country has about 500 languages that nobody has documented. We just barely how the languages are disappearing. Adamawa alone has about 250 of them. Who's documenting them? Who's putting this information on the internet? We could actually be the whole Google worth of information about Nigeria, and that could be done by students of history, students of sociology, archaeology, and and so on, and then of course students of the languages as well, and the students of IT and co can actually, we could do a lot of imputing all of these things on the internet. So everybody ought to be busy in this country right now. Unfortunately, the vision is not there.
Well, everybody should be busy. That's the positive I want to take from that.
Everybody, yeah.
Thank you so much, Tope, for taking the time to come here and talk to us.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. We will be right back. There is never a dull moment with Tope Fasua, a man of pretty radical ideas. But one thing that I would like to leave you with is that Nigeria has a very young population. And the only way we're going to get out of our economic challenges is if we can find a successful strategy to put our young people to work and to make sure that our education standards are high enough that we have the quality of graduates who can think and set the wheels of technology in Nigeria moving again. And that's it for exclusive interview today. Join us again next time. Until then, thanks for stopping by.